Hi guys! Today, I'm going to recap a 1999 romance comedy movie called She's All That. When his popular girlfriend cheats on him with another boy and parts ways with him, a boy makes a bet with his friends to turn a socially inept nerd into their high school's next prom queen. Will he win the bet? Let's find out together. The spring vacation has come to an end, and students have returned to class. Zach hangs out with his pals Dean and Preston while they are posing as other pupils. After seeing Taylor, he goes in for a kiss on her, but she rejects his advances and then tells him that they are no longer dating after she gives him a frigid response. She relates to him a fantastic experience she had in Florida with her new partner, as well as the new tattoo she got. During this time, Laney, a girl who is known for being a nerd, is participating in her painting class where she is being graded fairly by her instructor, Ms. Rousseau. Following this, Misty and Savannah tease her about her painting, advising her to consider ending her life in some manner other than painting. Zach's pals encourage him to take action in order to preserve his position as class president when the school DJ expresses sympathy for Zach's recent split by announcing that he has received condolences for the loss of his relationship. When Zach witnesses Taylor and Brock making out, he becomes even more furious. As a result, he vows to find someone else to take her place. After having a heated discussion with his other friends about how irreplaceable Taylor is, Dean decides to make a wager with Zach. Within the next 6 weeks, he must elevate one of the girls he chooses to the position of prom queen and take Taylor's place. During their quest for a target, they come across Laney, who slips and scatters her belongings all over the place. Dean decides that Zach's bet should be on her. Zach's refusal comes after he explains to them that he is able to manage his relationships with other girls, but not with the eccentric and difficult-to-reach Laney. Zach's embarrassment is compounded when he attempts to strike up a conversation with Laney, but she completely disregards him and instead walks away with her brother, Simon. While he is having a conversation with his sister, Mackenzie Seiler, regarding Laney, Zach watches Brock on the episode of Real World that he is in. After that, Mackenzie gives him advice to get to know Laney, and not long after that, their respective parents show up. When Zach's dad questions him about his applications to universities, he pauses in the middle of the conversation when Zach mentions calling alumni from his previous schools. Zach has been offered admission to a variety of universities, including Dartmouth, which was also Zach's father's alma mater, but he is not yet prepared to make a choice. Zach pays Laney a visit at her part-time job, where she confronts him about stalking her and urges him to stop. Zach makes an excuse to talk to Laney about art so that he may get to know her better, and as a result, Laney's friend Jesse gives Zach one of his art tickets. Laney's feelings are hurt by Jess's actions. Zach is then invited when Jesse encourages her to try contemplating the reasons why the most popular boy in school would be following her around school grounds. She also does not accept Zach's invitation to join her for supper. Zach stays at the Jesters to watch the performance of the artist later on in the evening. Following Laney's performance, Zach is extended an invitation to present a show to the public in his capacity as a new member. Zach, who is anxious and unsure of what's going on, pulls a quick stunt using a ball at the theater. Zach is ecstatic about what he accomplished at the theater, and he tells Laney everything about it on the walk back to their apartment. During the course of their conversation, Laney becomes irritated with him and leaves his presence when he compliments the beauty of her eyes, and then asks her whether she wears contact lenses. On the other hand, Taylor and Brock's relationship isn't exactly setting the world on fire with its glitz and glamour. It appears that Brock's romantic interest in Taylor has taken a back seat to his commitment to his real-world program and his image. The following day, Zach pays a visit to Laney's house and extends an invitation to accompany him to the beach. However, once he mentions sticking over to play with Simon, she decides to join him despite her initial reluctance. Zach's crew joins them while they are at the beach, and he tells her that she should get used to them since they will become friends in the future. Preston extends an invitation to Laney to participate in the boys' game of playball after both Katie and Chandler had declined. Laney gets along well with both of the girls. At the beach, Laney has a good time hanging out with Zach and his friends. After that, Dean extends an invitation to her to celebrate with them at Preston's. On the other hand, Laney makes excuses for Zach when it comes to cleaning her house after everyone else has left. Zach arrives at the house with cleaners to assist Laney with the household tasks while she is on the phone with Jesse about the upcoming party. His sister helps her get dressed. Simon is there to keep Zach company, which frees up the girl to work on becoming the new Laney. Laney's new look leaves Zach and Simon speechless, but she trips and interrupts their moment of admiration just in time. Zach and Laney have finally made it to the celebration that will go on forever. While everyone is looking at Laney, Preston gives them a warm greeting. After some time has passed, Katie brings Laney with her to meet the other girls. Dean makes fun of Zach for the way that he stared at Laney, but Zach reveals to Dean that the whole affair is simply a bet and not anything more than that. Taylor and her boyfriend get there in about the same amount of time as everyone else. In the meantime, Laney visits the restroom, where she discovers that Misty is throwing up. Misty mocks her as she tries to assist Laney, but Laney responds by locking the door and giving Misty a taste of the medicine she prescribes for herself. While this is going on, Brock makes a fool out of Taylor by dancing inappropriately and annoying the other guests at the party. Misty has her fair share of embarrassment when she comes to and discovers that Laney has painted a clown on her face and left it there. At the party, Taylor makes Laney uncomfortable by talking poorly about her, which prompts Laney to flee, at which point Zach chases after her. Zach then tells her that in order to open up, she needs to let in both the good and the bad, and after that, they both depart. The next day at school, Laney is informed that she has been nominated for prom queen, and she also manages to garner a few supporters despite the fact that she has no idea what's going on. Katie and the other girls are congratulating Laney on her nomination when they are suddenly interrupted by Taylor, who informs them that she has a message for them. As she sobs, Taylor breaks the news to her pals that she and her boyfriend have broken up. Chandler offers her comfort while simultaneously reassuring her that she will be better off without Brock. Taylor is taken aback when she sees the entire Laney for prom queen scenario, in which she questions her classmates about what she may have missed. During the course of their game of soccer, Zach becomes sidetracked, which catches his pals off guard. When he talks about messing with Laney, he gets into a fight with Dean, and Dean then warns him that he's going to lose the competition. The kids are all preoccupied with the preparations for the prom, while Jessie is managing Laney's campaign and Taylor and her pals are working on theirs. Laney invites Zach to join her while she works on her project, which involves painting a picture of her mother. They discuss her mother's passing, after which Zach advises her to stop isolating herself from others, which prompts her to inquire about his uncertainty on which college to attend. Zach then goes on to explain how he is under the impression that his father wants to force him to follow in his footsteps, and attend the same college that he did. During the course of their conversation, Zach moves in for a kiss on her, but he quickly backs away when she asks him if he is playing a joke on her. Zach begins to experience strange nightmares revolving around Laney. A vote will soon be held to determine which of the two candidates for prom queen will be selected. In the meantime, a group of kids raps a song. They believe that Laney is supported by her in every way possible. Dean is so agitated by the situation that he leaves the room. When Laney approaches Jessie in the school cafeteria and asks if she's kissable, she gives off an anxious vibe. While they converse, Simon performs his duties as a waiter by attending to customers in the cafeteria. He is taken by two boys, and one of them pulls off his pubic hair and puts it in Simon's pizza while the other kid distracts Simon with a magazine. Zach finally understands what they are doing. In Simon's absence, he orders them to consume the pizza with the hair on it. He is aware that Laney is staring at him, but he begins to avoid her, which causes her anxiety to increase even further. Zach has developed affections for Laney recently. In the meantime, Dean approaches Laney when she is doing her part-time job and extends an invitation to the prom. When Laney says no, he informs her that Zach doesn't really care about her and that he's still got a thing for Taylor. Laney says she's not interested. Zach's father discovers the concealed letters of application to universities that his son buried and confronts him about them. Zach then had a conversation with his father about how he does not want to live the future that his father envisions for him. On the other hand, his father expresses regret and explains that during their entire relationship, he has always held an inaccurate perception of his son. During their time together at school, Taylor approaches Zach to discuss their preparations for the prom. When Zach reprimands her, she makes a move toward him that reveals Dean and Laney's relationship to him. Zach confronts Dean just as the latter is becoming enraged upon learning that Laney has accepted his prom invitation. During the course of their argument, Dean brings up the betting issue, which casts Zach in a negative light. Laney was taken aback when she learned that she was merely a wager. After being teased by Taylor, she bolts from the room, and Dean chases after her while Zach laughs at him. On the night of the prom, Zach makes several attempts to get through to Laney so that he may explain that he had placed a bet before he knew her. However, Simon becomes angry with him over the phone and tells him to hang up. After some time has passed, Laney's dad will head downstairs to talk to his daughter while she is painting. He encourages her to go to the prom and advises her to let him take care of the obligations around the house. She reveals to him that she does not have a date for the prom, but her dad surprises her by saying that she already has someone waiting for her there. Her father tells her that she should attend the prom and have fun for herself rather than worrying about who is waiting for her. When she entered the living room, she discovered that Dean was already dressed and waiting for her there. However, she had anticipated seeing Zach there. Zach follows his sister out the door after she reassures him that Laney will indeed go to the prom. Zach and Mackenzie arrive at the prom, and Zach notices that Laney is dancing with Dean. Mackenzie tells Zach about the dance. He makes an attempt to contact Laney, but Taylor prevents him from doing so. Instead, she tells him to dance with her and that she has forgiven him. She waited all night for Zach to pick her up so they could go to the prom together, but he never showed up. At the party, everyone is getting down as the campus DJ does his thing behind the turntables. While the DJ is playing their favorite song, Jesse and Mackenzie finally make eye contact and introduce themselves to one another. Dean gives Laney permission to visit the restroom, and Jesse overhears him talking about a wager that he had put to sleep with Lane after the party while Laney is in there. During the time that Laney is waiting, the art teacher comes up to her and congratulates her for completing the most impressive painting for the project, which was a portrait of Laney's mother. She urges her not to let go of whoever was responsible for opening her up, and she then stresses at Zach, whose eyes are also on her. Dean walks away with Laney as Zach and Taylor are proclaimed the prom queen and king. Zach has lost the bet because Laney did not come out on top in the election for prom queen. In the meantime, Jesse shares the news about Dean's plans with Mackenzie, and the two of them then proceed to tell Zach about it. They cut Zach off in the middle of his speech and informed him about Dean's agenda at the same time. After that, he makes haste to rescue Laney, abandoning his prom in the process. On the other hand, Laney retaliated by blowing a horn blast in his ear as a means of self-defense. When Laney arrives at her house, she is greeted by Zach, who had been waiting for her, and she proceeds to tell him about Dean. As they dance together, Zach expresses his regrets to her and the two of them share a touching moment together. They also discuss their goals for college, and then Laney kisses him after the conversation. The story comes to a close on the day that they graduate when Zach satisfies his losing term on the bet by attending the ceremony naked in order to satisfy his obligation. On the other hand, as a direct result of what Laney did to Dean, he has had some diminished hearing. What do you think of this movie? Write your comments below. Subscribe to watch more videos like this, leave a like and comment to help the channel. Thank you for watching, and as always, see you next time.